Welcome to the show, everybody. As we have another great week of sports that was. I'm your host, Toole, and today we have plenty to talk about. And this, like I said last week, this is a Super Bowl edition of the show. And at the end of the show, I will be giving my Super Bowl pick. But first, we have to talk about the Pro Bowl that was last Sunday. And as we all know, the NFC won against the AFC 55-41. And a lot of people have talked about the Super Bowl as a whole. And this week, is Super Bowl week. But a lot of people say that the Pro Bowl has actually turned into a laughingstock. As if you watch the game, because I know I watched the game last night, I was very, very disappointed in the way the players actually played. You have guys going in half speed, people walking around like this wasn't even a game. Every time they went out to do a field goal, players stood around like it wasn't a game. Or they stood around like it was actually a practice, and that's what I think that what was lost in the Pro Bowl. One of the things I liked, it was moved back to Hawaii. It should have been in Hawaii, for a while. It should have never went back to the States. But the one thing out of this whole entire Pro Bowl, it was the fact that Michael Vick played in this game. He started the Pro Bowl. He went 5 for 10, threw for 59 yards. He didn't really play a lot. He played a quarter and a half, which all quarterbacks did. One of the other spots was Deshaun Jackson was not playing in this game. He injured his leg in practice, but he should make a full recovery, so don't fret about that. But the question remains now, what should the NFL do with this Pro Bowl? Should there be a Pro Bowl at all? And although there's not a solution to this, which there really isn't, but what the NFL should do, I think personally, is make a skills competition, have that happen, kind of like what the NBA does or the NHL did this past weekend. Make it so that the fans can see it. Now, if they're going to play a game, have the Super Bowl participants in the game like they did in years past. I know, everybody wants to see the Super Bowl participants who were elected to the Pro Bowl to play in this game. That, I know, makes a lot of more viewers watch this game. And I think that's what the NFL has done wrong. Obviously, the Pro Bowl this year's Pro Bowl turned out into, a shooting contest left and right from scoring. Like I said, the stats really don't mean anything. But some quick numbers. Phillip Rivers was 192 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Matt Ryan came into this game and really propelled the NFC. He was the second string quarterback that came into this game, and he really made the NFC go during this game. He was 9 of 13, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, and threw an interception. One highlight of this game is that there was 5 interceptions thrown by the AFC and their quarterbacks. This it got out of the hand quickly in the first quarter, as the score was 35-0 at the end of the first quarter, and the NFC just controlled this game all game long, and the AFC really came out flat and never had a chance. One thing that came out of this game was that there was a report from ESPN that the Eagles will place the franchise tag on quarterback Michael Vick this February, later in the month. Now, also, this means that the Eagles will now be shopping the second-string quarterback, Kevin Kolb. One note is that NFL teams cannot trade players until there is a new collective bargaining agreement. So, what does this mean? This means that until there's a new collective bargaining agreement, Kevin Kolb will be on the Eagles until this agreement is settled. We don't know when this is going to be settled. No one knows. And there's a huge question mark whether or not we will have an NFL season next year. No one knows. So there's going to be a lot to talk about during this upcoming offseason. As we all know, Roger Goodell has said that he will lower his salary to $1 a day, if there is not a new collective bargaining agreement. And it was kind of funny. The president of the Players Association, Smith, said that he will lower his salary to 44 cents if there is no new collective bargaining agreement. So a lot of things are going to happen, and hopefully they get this settled and get a new collective bargaining agreement in place so we can have an NFL season next year. Over to hockey now. The NHL All-Star Game was this past weekend, and Team Lindstrom won 11-10 over Team Stahl. Patrick Sharp, who was big last year, if you remember, in the Stanley Cup Finals with the Blackhawks and the Flyers, he was the MVP. He had 2 goals and 1 assist. Now, this game, as we all know, was a great game. This was the first game actually in history in the NHL where there was 2 captains, different sides, and they had a fantasy draft. Now, I watched this draft, and I say it was pretty funny as both captains went up and called their picks, and I actually like this. Now, I'm not saying that other sports should do this, but for the NHL to do this, I think that it is great for them to do. And now, as we go look at the Flyers, they are 50-33 this season, and 12. And they're first in the Atlantic and first in the Eastern Conference. Now, Peter Laviolette has said that this team needs to pick up their speed as they push for a playoff run. I believe they need to do this. They have the keys to do this, and they need to just keep going like they've done before. Because if they start slipping, which I don't think they will, but it could happen, and they need to keep that mentality as they try to get back into the Stanley Cup Finals, which I believe they will. Switching gears now, the Winter X Games were this weekend, and Shaun White was tremendous this weekend. He won his 4th straight Super Pipe Gold with his double McTwist 1260, and he hasn't performed this trick since last year's X Games, and it was just phenomenal. It was last night. I don't know if you watched it, but it was great last night. And the sport of snowboarding and the Winter X Games has really taken big, and it's great for that sport. I watch it every year. I look forward to watching it. I look forward to the X Games in the summer. So it's great for Shaun White and great for the sport. He is the first guy to ever repeat in any event at the X Games. So hats off to Shaun White. All right. As we move on to Widener Sports, the men's basketball team, I hope you've heard, they're kind of on a rough patch right now. They are 9-10 on the season, and more recently, Saturday, they lost 59-54 to Messiah. This team, I've watched this team this whole entire year, and they've had some games where they've let the lead slip away. They had games where they could have come back, but not quite come back. And if you're talking about them trying to make the NCAA tournament, well, it's kind of iffy right now. They're 4-4 in conference play, and one side note out of that game, Perry Wright has 17 points and 17 rebounds. Like I said before, they're 4-4 in conference play, and they sit in a 3-way tie for 4th place in the conference with Messiah and Lebanon Valley. Their next home game is at 8 p.m. on Wednesday at the Schwartz Center, so please come out and check it out to support this team. On the other side, on the women's side, on women's b-ball, they lost to Messiah 51-49 on Saturday. Kate Dillinger had 15 points and 10 rebounds for her 5th double-double of the season and 4th double-double in the last 6 games. Messiah, which is now 6-2 in conference play, stole possession of 2nd place from Widener, who drops to 14-5, and they are 5-3 in the Commonwealth Conference. They will play Albright on Wednesday at 6 p.m., as they are now in a doubleheader with the men's basketball team. So please come out and support both of these teams. Now, as we all know, this past weekend, on SportsCenter. Uh, Widener Jr. B.J. Smith was on SportsCenter. As we all know, his huge dramatic 65-foot jumper, and I believe we're going to roll the clip of that. And he was number 3 on SportsCenter. So whenever you're ready, I believe we're going to roll the clip of that. And as we all know, that was a great moment. I was actually there at that game, and BJ was number 3 on SportsCenter. So hats off to you, BJ. I talked to you about it. I know you're happy about it. Hats off for you and for Widener for being number 3 on SportsCenter. It's great that our school actually has some national attention. So it's great for Widener. Now to the big portion of the show is we're going to get into my Super Bowl pick, and I will tell you that this year's Super Bowl pick for me will be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I will tell you why the Pittsburgh Steelers will win. Number one, the reason they will win is because they have the most experience out of the two teams. They've been there before, okay? They've won a Super Bowl before. They have leaders on that team, okay? Ben Roethlisberger is going to be a huge factor in this game. And I know that their coaching staff will have them prepared for this game. Now, this game, I believe, is going to be much closer than people think. A lot of people think this game is going to be some sort of a blowout. I don't see that happening. I see this being a much closer game, and I actually see the Steelers winning this game 27-14. I believe it's going to be much closer than people think. These are two defenses that both play the 3-4. And when you have guys like James Harrison, Troy Polamalu on the Steelers defense, and have guys like Clay Matthews, B.J. Raji on the Packers defense, these are two defenses that do not give up points, and they play hard. But that being said, you have two offenses that can light up any scoreboard. And I see that happening this Super Bowl weekend. So that's going to be it for today's show, edition of 2 Cents. I am Don Toole, and I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.